Welcome back to SwitchCorner, my name is Alex and today we're taking a look at King's Bounty 2 on the Nintendo Switch, and while I was hoping to have a full review for you all on this one, it's just a bit of a beast it seems in runtime. I'm about 20 hours deep, so I figured let's take a look at an overview of the game, what it's all about, and then discuss its graphical power and frame rate because, as I said, it's a bit of a beast, so how does the Switch handle it? So with that luck, hit subscribe if you love the Switch, as much as we all do here, join our growing family, and let's get started. So story-wise, we join a world where the kingdom is in disarray. Opening the game though, you'll find yourself in prison, released in the opening moments. You've been appointed though by the kingdom to bring order to this world, whether that's the local bandits or other counties and nations that are demanding independence. The story is honestly okay, but 20 hours in I can't say it's hugely gripping stuff, honestly. It just has little weight to it all, but there is at least a lot of it because while you have that main quest line, you also have a ton of side quests to face off against. It's just like the gameplay though, a slow burn of a story, but I will say this, the world is at least full of unique characters to meet, and that is for sure something that elevates the story. So gameplay wise, really we've got two elements to the gameplay, exploration and then tactical combat. The exploration is third person, while combat it's an isometric style hex format of gameplay. The exploration, it's simple enough, you'll be able to explore this world freely, and while yes, it is open world technically, it is also restrictive in its movement with no ability to kind of, I guess, avoid set paths. For example, you can't jump or traverse down, let's say, small jumps, you'll be met with an invisible wall. During these moments, not only will you meet the locals, but additionally be able to find all sorts of loot, which is going to be important because maybe this could lead to, let's say, armor for our lead. That impacts the strength of your army, or maybe items you can sell. Talking about leads, then you can actually choose between 3 different classes open in the game. That's a warrior, paladin or mage. I remove warrior personally, and that impacts what are called talents. Talents, they're essentially a skill tree that you can evolve throughout the game, and these are earned via talent points, whether that's leveling up your character with XP or simply winning battles. These impact everything though, from power to order to anarchy to finesse. Think improved defense during that first round of combat, or maybe better XP is earned on victory. There's a ton of options here that you need to explore. Shaping your character in this area will absolutely be essential to your progress. As you explore though, not only will you get main quests across what is a sizable world map, and of course opening snow location as well, but also a ton of side quests as well. Now I will tell you now, absolutely essential to face these side quests because running through just the main quest line, it just won't be possible. I tried and the game absolutely destroyed me. The exploration though, it's mostly fine, but outside of the invisible walls that often force you into battle, signified by what is a yellow line almost that you just can't bypass, it does have a big issue with speed. The problem here is the default speed is sprint supposedly, and you can hold the trigger in fact to walk, but talk about a slow sprint, it takes forever to get anywhere, and while the game, it tries to help you with what is a fast travel system linked to statues around this world, it really could have done with just a little bit more pace. Reinforcing that slow pace of the game then, anything interactable cannot be accessed on horseback, so you need to constantly get on and off of your steed to gather all of the world's goodies around you. It's not a huge problem honestly, but it could have felt like a Witcher pace almost. Instead it ends up feeling very much kind of like an acquired taste. The game also lacks any real in-depth tutorial from the skill tree to exploration. It just gives you very little, rather opting for a system of kind of throw you in the deep end and hope for the best. When it comes to combat then, you'll head into battle and the game, same thing, little tutorial, so it's kind of trial by fire here, but it's turn based and also unit specific, meaning you get no option over who moves next. The problem I have here so far is the game tells you nothing about move order, so you'll be guessing who comes next, and while I kind of get it, you wouldn't know what the opposing general will be doing, it was kind of frustrating because if that was the case, I could pretty much move who I wanted to. Instead the game's going to force it on you, and yeah, it definitely takes a little getting used to. Each unit though here is really related to your character level and also your skill tree. You see, you'll buy units with gold earned in world, but it's going to rely on you having enough specific leadership qualities. So let's say you have 7 soldiers in a single unit. You may not be able to have 2 units of the same until you level up so much. The quality of warrior though at your disposal is awesome. From the first 10 hours alone, I had trolls, human units, the undead, all sorts, and it adds for some real nice variety in the gameplay, because some may have, let's say, specific skill sets that you want to use. For example, dogs. The dogs are awesome here, as yes, they are weak in their strength, but they have a ton of power when it comes to their attack. Especially impressive if you partner them with mages who can keep their health bars in check, you know, consistently heal them up. Then that, like, I guess small health bar just really doesn't matter anymore. It's all hex based combat though, and the game rarely takes it easy on you. The game's lack of tutorials is highlighted here as well, when it took me a good 6 or so hours to even recognise at the beginning of each battle it actually gives you a skill rating at the top of the screen. It says equally strong, weak, strong opponent, so on. Also, you'll never be on the battlefield yourself. You are very much a captain and director of the war. You stand off to the sidelines. If you lose here, it's not game over, rather it is your army is gone. Also, from the sidelines then, dependent on your skills, you can fire magic onto the battlefield. If you finish a fight though, let's say with some remaining units, you can heal them, but that is the challenge here. You'll need to raise gold and buy more units or pay to heal them. It is actually kind of frustrating honestly, but it adds a whole element of permadeath, and the fault it is only ever your own in these moments. Thankfully, an aggressive autosave is also in place, so if you simply want to, let's say, reload that pre-battle moment, it's probably something I would suggest. The combat though, it is good stuff honestly. It's not for beginners as it is unforgiving, but I do think that veterans of the genre, you should find a whole lot to like here when they kind of grow accustomed to the game's, I guess, restrictions in visibility to movement on the battlefield. Overall for gameplay, there's a lot in here. As I say, 20 hours in and no sign of any endgame at all. The game's difficulty curve will force you to play out the side quests then, but thankfully it's a great cast of characters to meet. Just don't, again I'm going to reinforce this, don't ever expect this one to go easy on you. It will absolutely crush you. So let's talk visuals and frame rate, and going into it, quite honestly, I expected my Switch to set on fire. It's not a huge game in install size, but there's a lot going on. Turn-based combat, a somewhat open world, a huge cast of characters, and honestly, I will say this about the Switch build, it's a mixed bag quality. The game itself though, visually, the scale here pushes the Switch clearly to the max. If there is ever a recent argument to why we need a Switch Pro, this is probably it. It's relatively blurry honestly, and there's a ton of aliasing in here, and yeah, I think you can see it for yourself in the video. I don't think it's a bad looking game at all. In fact, I think it's quite impressive what they've achieved here, but it is for sure struggling. There's also moments in game then as well, I'm just kind of curious about this, but we're actually breaking down the Xbox version over on SwitchCorner as well. There's moments in the game when they're speaking to a crowd about announcements in the kingdom. On the Switch there's like maybe 4 people standing there making for what is the smallest kingdom ever. Likewise then as well, frame rate it is kind of all over the place. What actually surprised me here though was with the frame rate, they went all out, and respect for this because they went for 60 frames per second, which is impressive, but the game struggles. It rarely breaks 35 and it drops to 25 if not lower in some moments. I think a wiser decision would have been maybe going for a good old 30 FPS locked. The change here is constant though, and you will feel it as the world and its size around you, it impacts it. And one thing I did note was having your horse on screen, you press actually Y to summon them, it plays with the frame rate especially. Not that it really matters to have that horse honestly, because the speed here super slow as I said, but it's definitely like very noticeable in these moments. So overall, visually, I am honestly impressed. I think this game coming to Switch in itself is an impressive feat, but it absolutely struggles, and you definitely need to go in being forgiving. That said, if you want tactical gameplay on the go, this is going to be a very, very good option. Audio finally, and it's decent. The voice acting for the most part is solid given the cast size here. You know, there's a huge amount of folks to meet, and I also chose the warrior who was doing his best Witcher impersonation, but it absolutely works, and they do a good job of kind of leaning into the mystical and the magical of this world. Likewise, their music, good kind of fantasy stuff, nothing out of the ordinary, but I think it's fair to say it delivers everything you would expect. So the final verdict, and while it has its issues, really enjoying it. The combat is intense, the exploration is fun, and the characters in this world absolutely intriguing. The game has its issues, as I said, from the visuals to the frame rate to its questionable lack of tutorials and lack of a sprint option, for example. But through all of it, for strategy fans, it is a lot of fun, even with its lack of weighty storytelling after 20 hours in. Fortunately, the world, everybody in it, absolutely saves it. Now, would Switch be my first option? Honestly, probably not, but I still think it's a hell of an achievement to get this one running on the Switch, and I hope it finds an audience, because this is exactly what I've been wanting from my Switch. And I can also tell you now, like, it's absolutely a punishing journey that I intend to see through to the end. Will you be adding this one to the library though, or are you holding onto that cash? Without then, a shout out to the patrons of the channel who are just going above and beyond to support SwitchCorner. It helps more than you know, so thank you all so much. If you do want to check that out for yourself, I have linked it in the video description down below. Then hit subscribe if you love the Switch as much as we all do here. Join our growing family, and I'll see you all on the next video. Thanks everyone.